Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Balconia Garden Podcast. This is where we talk about all things container gardening, both indoor and out. And you can find tips and tricks for growing a flourishing container garden, regardless of the size, shape, or space that you have. You can find video tutorials on my YouTube channel. The channel is called Balconia Garden. And you can listen to this podcast on the YouTube channel and on Spotify. The Spotify account is called Balconia Garden Podcast. Welcome to episode 10. It's the beginning of April. It has been glorious weather this week in Cologne. I think it's been about 19-20 degrees. The wind has been stressful though. It's been very windy. And of course, if we've got plants outside, so if you have things on your balcony already, make sure that you're watering your plants enough because the wind can really strip the moisture out of the leaves and out of the plants themselves. So make sure you're giving them enough water. And if it gets too much, I would actually protect your plants too. Wind can be really damaging. But other than that, it's so nice to be experiencing warmer weather. Spring is springing, and I'm sure some of you have, already planted your seeds. You might even have your seedlings. I hope they're all doing well, that you've not had many casualties. If, however, you have had casualties, I have had many in my time. I want to share with you today some things that you can do to stop your seedlings from dying. So we're going to look at the things that are going to kill your seedlings. I lovingly refer to them as the 4 horsemen of the seedling apocalypse. And then we're going to look at ways we can eradicate them so that our seedlings survive. What you'll notice with these 4 things that I'm going to talk about is that they're all connected. I mean, everything in nature is connected anyway, especially when we're gardening. But if you have an issue in one of these horsemen, let's just call it that, you're probably going to have issues in the other ones too. And conversely, if you clean up that problem, they will probably affect the other areas in a positive way as well. So I just want to start with that. So let's meet the first horseman of the seedling apocalypse. It is soil-borne diseases and pathogens. Fungal diseases like damping off or seedling blight will damage, if not completely demolish, your seedlings. And it can happen really quickly. There will be times where you're looking at all your gorgeous seedlings growing so beautifully, and maybe the next day or in 2 days, they will just be all lying on the ground or in the soil, half dead. It's sad and quite shocking, actually, in this really weird way. So these soil-borne diseases and soil-borne pathogens, they prevail in warm, moist conditions. So make sure that you keep the air circulating around your seedlings. If you have a lid on them or if they're in a plastic bag, make sure that you're removing them. I would actually even say every day. I know I mentioned before, I think maybe every 1 to 2 days, but or depending on your environment, you really want to keep the humidity under control. So I would actually remove it every day. Just allow the air to go around the seedlings and across the surface of the soil. Make sure you're watering correctly. We're going to get into that in a minute. And when you're sowing your seeds, use trays that have drainage holes or pots that have drainage holes, and also use a good quality seed starting mix or a multi-purpose compost from a reputable company. They should have less nasties in these mixes. If you do see mold on the top of your seed compost or multi-purpose compost or whatever you're using, you can just scrape it away, scrape off the top layer, and then I would recommend sprinkling cinnamon around it. That's always worked for me. It kind of reduces the mold. Cinnamon also has natural antifungal properties, which is just so cool. I have also in the past used hydrogen peroxide, but I've used it in a very diluted solution. So I think I've done 3 parts water to 1 part hydrogen peroxide, and I've done it very gently because of course we know seedlings are incredibly fragile. So if you are using hydrogen peroxide, spray maybe on the surface of the mix rather than on the seedlings themselves. So all these things are going to help control or eradicate completely any sort of soil-borne diseases or pathogens that want to snatch our lovely seedlings from us. So the second horseman of the seedling apocalypse is incorrect watering. If the soil is too moist and it becomes waterlogged, the seedlings can actually suffocate or drown because there's no air pockets within the soil. And as I just mentioned before, these moist conditions can lead to soil-borne diseases, fungal diseases, something like damping off, which is very common for seedlings. Conversely, if the soil is too dry, the seedlings will wilt. So it's about looking at your setup, whatever it looks like, if it's indoor, if it's outdoor, and just finding the best balance for you and best amount of watering for you. But the goal is that the soil remains moist but never saturated, and you can water the seedlings once the top of the soil feels slightly dry to the touch. If you tap your finger, just put it maybe a few centimeters underneath the soil. If that's dry, it's definitely time to water. I also tend to water my seeds and seedlings from underneath. This avoids splashing the seedlings with any water when you're watering from above. And if there is any potential disease within the soil already, this removes the chance of it spreading by splashing with, the little water droplets when you're watering. But all in all, make sure that the soil remains nice and moist. Never have the trays or pots sitting in water, and also make sure that when you pick them up, there's a little bit of weight to them. If they're kind of very light, it means that the soil is pretty dry and you need to water. The third horseman is wrong temperatures. If it's too warm, the chances of mold and these fungal diseases that we've been talking about are increased due to this increased humidity. On the other side of the spectrum, if it's too cold, the seedlings won't germinate, or their growth process will be a lot longer. And of course, if you have your seedlings outside and they're not protected and the frost comes, well, yeah, it'll probably do for them. Ideal temperatures for most seeds to germinate is around, let's say, 15 to 21 degrees Celsius, but always check the seed packets for the ideal temperatures. And as ever, keep your pots, your trays, keep them properly ventilated. So if you have them in cold frames or mini DIY greenhouses or pots in plastic bags, take the lid off, allow the air to circulate. If you need extra heat, you can use heat mats. I also find that having a little thermometer, these ones you can buy online, having a little thermometer, just placing them by the seedlings, it's also going to tell you the humidity, but it just tells you the general temperature of that area. And this is going to help you see, I need to maybe increase the temperatures here or actually reduce them somehow. But all in all, temperatures between 15 to 21 degrees Celsius should be ideal for our germinating seeds and growing seedlings. And the last horseman of the seedling apocalypse is not enough light. If the seedlings are too far away from their light source, what they're going to do is elongate their stems. This will then lead to weaker stems and definitely weaker plants. They're also going to produce fewer leaves because they're putting energy into elongating their stems rather than putting down leaves. And of course, if we think about it, the leaves are the part of the plants that collect this light energy from the sun that will then be converted into chemical energy. So all in all, it's not a good situation. Weaker plants, of course, are much more prone to diseases, these seedling diseases that we were talking about before. So if you're growing your seedlings indoors, place them by a south-facing window. Rotate the tray regularly every few days so the seedlings don't lean to one side. If you have grow lights, position them directly above your seedlings. For nice full coverage, this means the seeds are going to grow directly up. If you have your seedlings outside, normally light or enough light isn't an issue, but they will need to be protected from the elements still. So again, pop them into a greenhouse, DIY greenhouse, and then they'll get the best of both worlds. Lots of light, nice protection. You can even drill some holes for ventilation, let the air circulate. And of course, if it gets too cold, you can always bring your outdoor seedlings inside. So those were the 4 horsemen of the seedling apocalypse. I hope now you know a little bit more about things that will deter these baddies from snatching your lovely seedlings in the night. I hope you enjoyed the podcast. If you did and you would like to support the channel, subscribe. I'm sending you all my good wishes. I hope you're all doing well, and I will connect with you in the next podcast. Goodbye.